In this lecture, we're going to be talking about delta, everyone's favorite variable, and I'll be showing you how you can alter the game's properties while the game is actually running and some of the benefits that you get from that. If you look down in our debugger, we've got two error messages here. Well, I wouldn't call these errors. It says errors right here, but these are actually just warning messages because they're yellow. Errors will be in red. So the first warning message that we're getting is that the argument delta is never used in the function process. So what is delta? Well, delta is a variable that stores the amount of time it took to run the previous frame. And so why is that information useful? Well, if you have a game that's running and the computer starts to slow down, maybe it starts doing something else, maybe it starts to get hot, something happens and the computer's processor slows down, the amount of time that it will take in real time in our world to run each frame will vary. And so because of that, we need to keep track of how much time it takes to run each frame and attempt to compensate for that. And that's what delta does. Delta, we use delta we use the last frame to try and estimate how long this frame will take. And that's pretty much what we're doing. So in order to do this, we're going to need to multiply our x speed and our y speed by delta. Now we could do this and do it on every single one of these. Obviously, you don't need to multiply by 0, but just for the sake of example, we could be doing this. But instead, let's pass delta into our move function. So now we can just pass delta in here, delta in here, there, and also there. And then inside of here, we can multiply our x speed by delta and our y speed by delta. There we go. So now we're using delta to try and compensate for how fast the processor is calculating everything for our game and figuring that out. The problem is now delta is an extremely tiny number, at least on most computers. So now our pig is moving very, very slowly. So we want to increase the speed. And this is where the 200 comes from the other lecture. So 200 right here, well, that's actually significantly too fast. But we could try 50. See how that looks. That looks pretty good. So now our character is moving around on the screen and using delta to update its position to try and determine if the processor is moving quickly, then we'll use that value to try and compensate for that, or if it's moving slowly, we can also do that. Now let's talk about changing values, because I'm going to show you how you can change values outside of your code, and these are called export variables. So instead of having const here, we're going to change this to export, and we're going to change it to int it's just lowercase var. So we've typed export int var speed equals 50. So what does that do? Well, if we click on our pig node over here, now we get a new property inside of the inspector called speed. And you can see it's set to 50. And because we told it it's an int, this value will increase in integers. So by 1, really easy numbers to see. And so there are lots of different types of variables that you can export. And if you go to the GDScript page that I showed you guys in the documentation, or just search it on Google, you can search GDScript. You can see all of the different types of export variables and see what you can get access to here in the editor. And so this is convenient because we can actually run the game, and while the game is running, we can change this. It's like we're moving around at a speed of 50. Oh, that looks a little bit fast. Let's change this to 30. Come back down, select our game window, and now we're going to be moving more slowly as long as I commit it. I didn't hit enter. You do have to hit enter or else it won't work. So now you can see we're moving slower because we set it to 30. Or, whoops, I accidentally stopped the game. Or you can set it up to 300, which will be way too fast, right? But my game is still running. I didn't close the game. And if you have two screens, then this is a lot easier, obviously. But I'm trying to show you on one screen. But you can update the game, the variables to the game in real time while the game is running and test stuff. You can also, if you come up into debugger, you can see we have sync scene changes and sync script changes. You can also change your scripts while the game is running, and it will reload the script and attempt to run it. And on top of that, if you are running the game, so let's say we're running the game and we switch to 2D here and we move our pig, we want to put our pig over here, and then we switch back to the game. Because we're syncing the scene changes, it also moves the pig in the scene. So any change we make in the scene gets updated in real time in the game as well. Well, let's say we click on world and we add a new apple. We add a couple apples into here, right? If we come back to our game, those apples are going to be added in real time. So there's a lot of practical use for this. What if you're playing a platform game and your character just can't quite make a jump, right? You've built your whole level, you run the game, and there's a jump that your character can't quite make. Well, you could just come over into your scene and you could drag a new platform into the scene, then go back to your game, and then your character can now make that jump because there's a platform there to help them make that jump. So you can test stuff and alter it in real time while the game is running. And I think that is extremely powerful. So I wanted to make sure to show you guys. And this lecture felt like a good one because we were adding an export variable as well. So then I could show you kind of how those things worked together. Thank you guys so much for watching this lecture, and I will see you guys in the next one.